forget that.
You missed that part?
Let's
Violence.
say hi again. Let's all say hi again. Let's all say hi again.
All right, let's unmute yourself and just say hi to us. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
That is
Sounds
beautiful.
good. Yeah,
Hi.
thanks.
Hey.
So thanks so much for joining the second day of our college fair. We have Chung, Duck, and Mai here today, who are representing Minerva schools at KGI for tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box or just private message me, and we'll get to them later. So yeah, Minerva schools, take it away.
Thank you so much. Hi guys, this is so great. Hearing so much energy in the room. This is amazing. I just want to briefly introduce us first, and then throughout this conversation, if you ever want to have any chat or any conversations, any questions, feel free to just drop it in the chat. We're definitely active in the chat as well, so that should be great. My name is Chung. Right now, I am leading the Southeast Asia outreach effort at Minerva universities, and this is why I'm very excited today to just give you some of the basis Minerva 101 course for you guys getting to know Minerva, and also just to hang out and hearing us sharing some of the experience that we have at this really cool school. I graduated from Minerva in 2019 as the first class, and right now I am back in Southeast Asia to working on my company in the impact sector. Minerva is one of the project or one of the clients that we're working with, but we're representing Minerva, so we can bring this amazing opportunity to you guys, all the future leaders, and hopefully future leaders in the thinker. And I hope that you will find Minerva interesting and apply after this. Joining me, we have Mai and also Duk, who are all Minerva students and alumni. So please go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
All right. Thank you, Chang. Hi, everyone. So my name is Mai. I'm also from Vietnam, and I'm a Minerva student class of 2020. So I graduated last year, right in the middle of the pandemic. So I study strategic finance and philosophy back in school, and right now me and Chang were working on the same company, trying to bring social impact project back to Southeast Asia, because that's one of the things that we hold near and dear to our heart. And at the same time, as a finance student, I also dabble in some investment project. But for the purpose of today presentation meeting is about meeting you guys and introducing Minerva School to all of you. For me, it's still a wonderful opportunity that essentially changed my life, because I'm also fall into the category of South Asian student who doesn't have the fund to study abroad, and chances like this actually open up my world to a lot of opportunities. So I hope that we'll be able to inspire someone, and maybe support some of you to achieve the dream to study abroad.
Okay, hi you guys. I'm Duke. I'm also from Vietnam, but I'm currently a student of Minerva University. I'm just finished my second year. I major in I double major in business and computer science. So I can also have you guys figure out a little bit more about the major at Minerva, and yeah, I'm actually based now. I'm in the San Francisco, so you guys can see this is a dorm of Minerva School. So yeah, hope some of you guys will end up into this room.
All right, sounds great. Thank you so much. And yeah, feel free to just send us any of the questions in the chat. That is the great dorm room. Look, now that I see it, it's great. All right, well, let's get started. We're gonna start with some formal presentations, just for you guys to know about getting to know Minerva for a little bit. So Mai, please do start share your screen, and let's get started.
Okay. You guys can all see my screen, right? All right. So before we begin our presentation, I just want to say that we have a QR code at the right corner of our presentation that if you scan it, it will lead you to a Drive folder that essentially has every information about Minerva School. So anytime you want to get more information, do check out that folder. And we're going to be beginning our presentation now. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a picture of a classroom in the 15th century. And essentially what you can get from it is school, even though, nowadays a lot of things have changed in our society, school still remain the same among all the things. So like, you can see that in the 15th century, you have a teacher who is essentially sitting in one place lecturing. You have rows of students and someone in the back trying to take a nap. We still see that happen even today in my school, in a lot of university that I went to visit. And it's not a bad thing, like sometimes you need to have a quick nap during your lecture. But essentially, it's for us, we think it's a problem because society has changed so fast and so drastically nowadays. And the single things that will ensure the improvement of our generation still remain the same. And as one of our founders say, lecture is a very great tool to teach, but it's not a great tool to learn. And we think that with today's society where AI and technology is changing so fast and will potentially create a lot of jobs that won't be existing, students need to be prepared for that future. So instead of trying to teach old tradition, old skill set that might not be relevant anymore, at Minerva, we think that education matter, but matter in a way that we have to prepare students to become systemic thinker, leader, and innovator. So the way we're trying to do that is trying to equip you with practical knowledge and critical wisdom. However, critical thinking is something that is easier said than done, right? So how does Minerva, a very new school, bring that concept to student, and how do we execute on that? So let's start with our foundation of education. At Minerva, we believe that there's 4 core competency that a student should be able to master once you graduate. So we divide that into 2 different columns. One is about your personal ability and the other is about interpersonal ability. So how you work with others, right? For personal ability, there are 2 most important things: critical thinking and creative thinking. So essentially, it's about how you analyze information and then you solve it. For interpersonal ability, it's about effective communication and effective interaction. Essentially, how do you convey whatever that you have in your mind, and how do you make that work within the context of a team? And the way we do it is by using 2, I would say, groundbreaking concept. That is called the habits of mind and foundational concept. So at Minerva, we start as a project in 2012 with 2 people. One of them is Dean Stephen Coughlin, who has been the Dean of Neuroscience Department in Stanford for forever. And he has this 20 years of research project of learning how the human brain works, and he called it the science of learning. Essentially, it's about like using neuroscience to learn how your brain function and what is the best way to learn. And he came up with this idea of using hashtag and different notion to trigger the way that your brain will behave when you come up with new information, when you come up with new problem, when you come up with new people. And that is essentially becoming the habits of mind and foundational concept at Minerva. So I will give you an example. One of the hashtag, we call it the HC, that is short for the habits of mind and foundational concept at Minerva, that we, or I myself use a lot, is the hashtag gap analysis. So essentially, gap analysis teach you to solve a problem. It's basically a notion about how you can bridge the gap with where you are right now and where you want to go. Imagine you want to fix, a problem, like how to feed the world, then where you are right now is the status quo of how many people are in poverty, how many people are in hunger, and what is the source of the war of food quality, or the quantity right now. Where you want to go is, you want to make sure that everyone have free meals every day. Gap analysis will be a framework that teach you to bridge the gap, to lay out the step from where you are right now to where you're reaching. And the reason why it is brilliant is because, so whenever the world is complex and whenever you have to come up with new information, new problem, that in itself is already it's very complicated. And a lot of time it's distracting and it's stressing. So if you have to deal with, that information and also how to draw a framework yourself, that is too much on you. But at Minerva, we believe that with early training, a lot of things could become your habit. So whenever new information or new problem pops up, you already have a framework in your mind that allows you to tackle problem more efficiently and more effectively. And the way we do it is, using hashtag, which is a very intuitive thing for you to trigger information. You actually see this, it sounds very complicated, but you actually see this on, very close thing like Instagram, for example. The reason why your hashtag on Instagram, it's actually a way for, software engineering to teach the computer to teach them to make sense of the information, and also a way for you to draw information easier, because each hashtag is actually a node on its own, and it is connected to other relevant nodes. So whenever you click on hashtag, for example, Cam Philippines, it will draw up all information related to it, like studying abroad, Filipino student, or things like that. So yeah, at Minerva, we believe that it is efficient that you learn it beforehand, and instead of just fleeting information, we try to enforce that on you during our 4 years of education. Apart from that, of course, you'll have your major, because it's a university. Of course, you have your major. And at Minerva, we have a major ranging from arts and humanity, computational science, natural science, social science, to business. The different things about those is that even when you go into your major, you still have to practice your habits of mind and foundational concept every day. Because, as I say, the goal is to make it become your habit. At the end of the 4 years, at the fourth year, you will be doing something called the capstone project. So instead of studying for your whole 4 years, you will spend 3 years gathering knowledge, building essential skill. And in your fourth year, you'll be able to spend your whole year on a personal interest, topic of your own interest, and you will have an advisor who will help you to work on that. So the curriculum at Minerva, like I usually say, focus a lot on real world practicality rather than just studying for the sake of studying. And apart from that, we also have a system to support our student. One of those, I would say, is, the curriculum that is built on the science of learning, to make sure that everything you learn it's like based on each other, so that knowledge is built gradually in a way that it will make sense to student. Another thing that we really like to talk about a lot is our active learning class. So at Minerva, we have something called the flipped classroom. The way to understand it is, it's just, it's basically a classroom in reverse. So instead of going to class, listening to your professor, and then going back home doing homework, at Minerva, you do that in reverse. You work with your material in advance. Before class, you will be sent material that is chosen and curated by your professor. You'll be working with a set of guided question for you to explore the material. And you are also, a lot of time you will be asked to do some pre-class work so that you can contribute to the class better. And once you go to class, all you do is you join a very lively discussion with your professor and your peer so that you can extend on the knowledge that you learn. The good thing about this is that what yours will be yours, because you will not just, have a superficial interaction with the knowledge. You actually have a very deep interaction. You first have to read about it, and then, work on it on your own. And then you have your knowledge bounce back and forth with your peer. So what is your will become yours. The bad thing about it, I would say, from an experience of a student, it's a lot of the time, because you don't know what you don't know. So if the whole class have the same kind of standard of knowledge, then it's very hard for you to dig deeper. But luckily, you have your professor there to guide you. So that problem is minimized a lot of the time because you have a facilitator. And at Minerva, apart from active learning, we have a state-of-the-art technology to support student to success in whatever that you're learning. So you will see a demonstration of the forum in a video that we're going to show you, but there are two things that I would love to highlight. The first thing is the fact that because of our technology, we're able to allow our professor to interact with our student and allow our professor to literally help our student in every step of the way. What does that mean is that every class is recorded, like what has happened right now. But more than that, professor have to go back to every class and grade you on the content that you participate in your class. So professor will be able to know your progress immediately and then help you and support you during the journey of your learning, rather than just waiting for half of the semester when a lot of things has already happened and then read your essay and then give you some kind of pointer. And that also helps students in a lot of way, because with other university, when you join a one-on-one class with 200 other students, a lot of the time it's very hard for you to get the attention of the professor. And that is when you need it the most, right? In your first and second year, when you desperately need guidance from your professor. At Minerva, because professor has to grade you, so they already know about you. And when you come to office hour, instead of having to explain a lot, they actually know your situation. And a lot of the time, they even actively reaching out to you to make sure that you're doing okay. Or if you see that you have a very brilliant idea, you reach out to you. The second thing that I'm personally very proud of from the Minerva technology is the fact that we can reduce a lot of bias. So in modern day technology, sometimes some bias could happen that prevents students from learning and participating in class. A prime example would be in like a lot of male dominated field like technology or finance. Professor has a tendency to call on male student more, or professor has a tendency to call on student who they know would be good at this or who they have a good relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's human nature. However, a lot of time that discourage female students to actively engage or to go further in the field. And at Minerva, we have a technology to monitor classroom participation to make sure that everyone has an equal chance to speak up and to contribute. And if a certain student fall behind, professor will be alarmed so that they can come back and help that student. And the best thing about Minerva education, I would say, is that we have no tests because everything is measured on your participation every day. But a lot of notion at the same time. I think it will be better if we can all just spend 5 minutes and watch this video.
The Active Learning Forum is the Unexpected Learning Forum, the
Can you
place
hear my
where you're constantly
sound?
engaging with what you're learning.
I think people expect it to be unnatural, maybe a bit futuristic and incredibly different experience than a normal classroom. And in many ways, it isn't. It's the same.
As a Minerva student, I get to take classes from anywhere in the city. I think it's a great opportunity to constantly keep your learning experience fresh and exciting.
I was pleasantly surprised in my first experience on the Active Learning Forum. It's interactive, very dynamic, very fast-paced.
Everyone agrees that higher education could be much better than it is today. Minerva's acting on that by putting together state-of-the-art technology and superb pedagogy.
What we're going to do today is use a very complex problem, how to feed the world by 2050.
One of the great strengths of Minerva is the active learning forum, which is informed by the science of learning. The secret to active learning is engagement.
Do you agree or disagree that the 5 solutions will be sufficient to solve the world's food problem?
We have at our fingertips tools that are designed to engage the students 100% of the time.
Now we're going to do a poll. Pick your best answer and be prepared to defend it.
I do agree that the other parts of this poll were valid.
Active learning is being an important part of your own education, challenging ideas, and coming to your own understanding.
It means that I'm constantly accountable. I feel like when you characterize a problem, it's important that it helps guide you to the solution.
Perfect. That's excellent. I feel like I'm in a room with all of my students. I simply forget I'm on the computer. You will be going into breakout groups. In each of your breakout groups, you will get assignment.
In a normal classroom, there's people behind you, there's people to the side of you, but it's nice to be able to see everybody and their reactions to what's being talked about in class.
You are Group A. You will be the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, let's do it.
What does it mean to increase the food supply? So it means decrease food waste.
So for example, if we reduce the amount of grazed land in transition.
All of Minerva's classes are taught in the seminar format with a maximum of 18 students. I know each one of my students better than I knew students when I taught at a major university. Zeke, you're shaking your head. What do you have something to add?
Well, I think the first solution that immediately comes to mind is
The classes are designed so that you actually have more interaction with your professor.
It's a very open, dynamic, and friendly relationship.
it's the kind of learning where we're an active participant instead of a passive recipient. Both the student and teacher are engaged in not only dialogue, but debate and role play. And it's so much more fun than a traditional class.
What is really powerful about the forum is no student is in the back row. The professor can simply look at the screen and call on the students who are not participating as much and bring them into the discussions. Let's hear from Guillaume.
I think that the purpose of the incentives.
My favorite part is that the professors are able to watch the recordings of the class, which means that they can give you very specifically tailored feedback.
The technology really helps professors get more quantitative and qualitative data about how a student's performing across all classes and use that in office hours.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Dean Chandler. Thanks.
Good. Did you have any?
I thought it was the students who had to put effort into reaching out to the professor, but here the professor was taking a really, really active role. And I think that was a function of the technology we used.
We have technology. We have knowledge about how the mind works. We can do things with education that has simply never been possible before. And that's what we're trying to do at Minerva.
We are the only school in the world that uses the science of learning to design not just what we teach, but how we teach it. It doesn't get better than that.
I'm here at Minerva because I want to be a part of an important movement to change higher education.
The fact that Minerva students live and study together adds another dimension to the classroom. Having that human interaction really strengthens the online class experience.
Our education needs to be dynamic, it needs to be interactive, it needs to prepare us for the needs of an increasingly complex world.
I feel part of an incredible community. This is the only place that I'm excited about my learning.
Okay.
The active learning.
Okay, yeah. So I think that is it for academic. We'll now move on to student experience. One of our student Đức will be presenting. Good.
Hello, you guys again. So I see a question about the student experience that do we study remotely or we study with other people? So you guys will see the answer in this part. So we will move to another part. Student experience. It sounds funnier than, happier than just academic, right? So I have a question for you guys. So have you guys imagined study in a university in so many different cities in the world with people from all over the world? If you guys have that imagination in mind, just give me a thumbs up or a heart or anything, any reactions. Ooh, wow. So many people imagine about that. That's great. So Minerva will give you guys that experience. So firstly, we have a really diverse student body. So for example, in my class, I have students, my friends from all over the world. It's kind of like, I think about 44 different nationalities, people in my class. So people come from all over the world, from all the corner of the world, from Africa, North America, South America, Asia, and Europe, everyone. So we have a really diverse background, diverse cultures of students. So we always can talk about diversity and open-mindedness in Adminovar. So you guys know that when you come to when you come to American university or British university or like a foreign university, the majority is always the native. But at Minerva, we can guarantee that 78% of the student coming from outside of the US. So we can believe and secure that we are a really, really international school that have people from all over the world with different kind of background, origin, culture, and different mindsets. So that also you guys can feel the I don't know, like the differences and the open-mindedness when people talk about opinions, talk about any problem in the world. So it's really interesting. And also it's not just about nationality, it's also about social status. So yeah, everyone is a minority at Minerva. About the social status, because Minovar give student a really good and humorous financial aid. So a lot of people, a lot of my friends who come from a low income class, they can go to college, they can study abroad. So when you guys think about like the opportunity of studying abroad, we guys always think about like just rich student or really like international students can have a chance. But no, like at Middle we have a lot of students from low income, middle class income, and also high income class. So for example, me, I'm coming from a really like remote area in Vietnam, but I have a chance to come to Minerva. It was the first time I see so many people, so many colors, so many race, and it was my first time to talk to people from Africa, from South America. So it was amazing for me as a Vietnamese student. Yeah, coming from a really small city, and not just only a really diverse student body. According to Ben Nelson, who is our founder of the school, if we want student to save the world, to solve problem in the world, you need to allow student to see the world, to see how it's operate. So that's the reason we give the student the chance to travel, live, and study in 7 different cities in the world: San Francisco, Seoul, South America, South Korea, Hyderabad, India, Berlin, Germany, Buenos Aires, Argentina, London, the UK, Taipei, Taiwan. So you guys can see like 7 different cities just like locate in 7 corners of the world. So you guys can see the differences between the different city, between culture, background, local people, their mindsets, and the business dynamic in that country. And in each city, we have 2 types of activities for you guys to explore. First one we call co-curricular, which is the activity happen every Friday. So you guys can have a chance to join an activity and explore the history, the culture, and talk to local people who is really like, kind of like the expert in that area, in that city. For example, when I was in Berlin, I can have an extracurricular to go to Berlin World to listen to the people who work in that one, and they know a lot about the history of the Berlin Wall and why it's built, when it's built, and in what context that was destroyed it. So it was so amazing. And the second type of experience is called civic projects. So in a city, you will sign up for a project that Minerva partner with a partner partner with a partner at the city, like an organization or companies or businesses. So what you guys do is like you guys will actually work with those people in those companies, the organization, to build a solution or build a project to solve some a problem in the city. So it's also the chance to you guys to explore the dynamic of business, of problem, of social society in that country, and also talk to people who actually work in that country. For example, when I was in Seoul, we have so many civic project is about North Korean refugee. So you guys actually work with people who work in that kind of organization, work in non-profit organization, charity, to have North Korean people. For example, my best friend, they create a movie, documentary about North Korean students who uh, escaped from North Korean. I think when she was like 16 or 13, I didn't remember, but like around that age, and about her journey coming from North Korea, escaped to China, flew to Thailand, and rescued by South Korean government. So it was amazing for you guys to actually see many perspective in the world, and different kind of thing in the world. And can you move to the next slide? Okay, so today we have three different students from Minerva. I'm a current student, but like two other is alumni, but they did actually experience Minerva. So I think we can share a little bit about the memorable experience that we have at Minerva. So I think I can start. So my experience, the most experience, the memorable experience I have, I think it was at the time that I could go to North Korean border. So for me, I'm from Vietnam, so I can see the news about North Korea all the time. But I cannot imagine that in a point of my life I can see which is where's North Korea and like how it's look and how the problem there, like the conflict between North Korea and South Korea. So in Seoul, we have an extracurricular, a co-curricular that we go to the DMG, which is like demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea. So we actually like talk to people in the military, in like the soldier who actually work in that border, and listen to them about the dynamic, about the routine, about like what happened in that border all the time. And actually like we did hear some general so who's really like worked for many years. So for example, when the conflict happened, they can actually enjoy that kind of dynamic, so they can explain for like why it's happened and what happened in the border when we're in the DMZ zone. So it was a really amazing experience. And we can hear some experience from Trang and Mai.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I'm really enjoying chatting with everyone in the chat. I feel like that's just full of energy. So yeah, I feel like whenever I start talking about Minerva to a group of students, it always makes me feel so excited and feeling like I want to go to Minerva all over again. But I guess one of the most memorable thing for me at Minerva was actually Foundation Week. So when you start flying to San Francisco in your first semester of Minerva University. You will be in San Francisco, and you have this thing called Foundation Weeks, meaning that you are learning everything about Minerva in this one short week, so you can go ahead and enjoy your Minerva life. At the end of this Foundation Week, we were going to this beautiful place. It's called the Balance of Fine Arts. I don't know if Mike, you can just Google that quickly so everyone see it as well. But at the Palace of Fine Arts, it's just a beautiful place. Everyone was standing around this dorm. There you go. There's a dorm that is like roundish. So we were all just standing around this dorm, and we were starting to recognizing that this is real, like this school is real, and this dream is real. And this was the moment that for us, our founder starting to talk to us, a heart-to-heart conversations. Yeah, yes, look, we love it. Kind of like a heart-to-heart conversation. And I remember he distinctively said, look around you, this will be the people that join you for this sort of magical but also super real experience. And these are the people who are changing and re-innovating the higher educations with you. Because throughout this conversation and throughout this presentation, you see so many different things that we try to do differently from other university, because we believe that the education system should be changed for a better good. And this is why that was the moment that he just walk around and look everyone in the eyes and say that you guys are together in this journey, and together we are re-innovating the higher education scene around the world. And this was, for me, is the most memorable experience that until now I'm proud to be a part of Minerva still to spread out this model. But that's definitely was my most memorable experience at Minerva. And the Minerva people just put so much heart and so much soul into cultivating different experience for students. So I highly appreciate it. So yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, every time I talk about Minerva, I also fell into that nostalgic kind of stage. But let me make the mood less cheesy a little bit by telling about how many crises that we have been through. 'Cause that's also my favorite topic. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna scare you guys, but honestly, one of the most I think impactful that ever happened to me going to Minerva is the fact that when you are a Minerva student, you feel like a lot of world event, global event that is happening around you. Like before, you feel like it's such a distant thing. Like I live in Vietnam, and we have a very stable political situation, and a lot of the time you don't feel a lot of things. And you heard thing on the internet, you heard thing on TV, but you're like, yeah, it's like, no, it's a distant thing that happened somewhere else for someone else. But then the first time that is actually strike to me that, oh my god, it is closer to me than I thought, was when in my first semester in San Francisco, I went to San Francisco, and it was 2016, and it was a Trump presidency. So during that time, I got to witness with my own eye for the first time what a protest in real life looked like, because we were living right in front of the headquarters of Uber and Twitter. And at that time, the CEO of Uber also sit on the economic board of Trump presidency. And the people of San Francisco, right on in the night that Trump was elected, they flood the street, and then they gather in front of the headquarters, and they all chant to show, their anger. And that was the first time I actually get to witness something, a global political event right in front of my eyes. The next semester of our year in San Francisco, we also got another thing that hit us. So you saw the list that Duke showed you that we go to different city, and the last one was Taipei, Taiwan. But before that, it was Istanbul. Istanbul is a city that is very fascinating. It's a city that sits right in the middle of Asia and Europe. So it's like the melting pot of very interesting culture. Unfortunately, though, in our first year, there was a military coup happen in Istanbul that essentially changed every plan that was on the way. And I remember, the week that we have to vote to either go to Bangalore, which is another city in India, or Taipei, Taiwan, or go back to San Francisco in our last year. A lot of students actually cry because we don't just think about the chance of going abroad. We think about, the exposure that's going to happen there and how much we'll be able to see with our own eyes and how much we're going to miss. And then later on, I feel like it's like a sign, like that first year actually set the motion for a lot of things. Later on, we've been through a lot. So in my second year in Seoul, it was actually in the middle of the conflict between South Korea and North Korea. And a lot of time we can see plane, flying across the sky, and everyone's just like, this, the war could happen anytime. And then when we were in Berlin, there was, a crisis attack by ISIS. And the thing I remember the most would be, going to London. I remember specifically because I was late to join my cohort. Normally would fly to a new city in the beginning of the school year, which is August. But for some personal reason, I flew to London on October. And October 31st was the days that Brexit start. It was later on pushed to January, but it was supposed to start on October 31st. And that was the day that I flew to London. And it was very fun. So yeah, telling the story is not to scare you guys. It's just a story to illustrate that when you're a Minerva student, you will actually get to experience the war at I would say the front seat, because, you get to see a lot of things happening in front of your own eyes. And also you see the impact of it to you. But at the same time, I think the most important lesson that I learned from that would be how to deal with crisis and how to live with crisis. Because the thing about crisis is a lot of the time, how you react to it actually is the essential thing that makes it bad, not the crisis itself. When you're actually living within the crisis and you know what part of it is dangerous and you have to be careful about and what part of it is not, you actually learn how to be calmer and how to, look at things for its different parts. And it's teach you to be, of course, you have to be flexible so that you can react quickly. But at the same time, it gives you a calmer state of mind. I think it's very important in today's society because lots of things are happening a lot of time too quick, too fast. But yeah, I wish I could go back.
Yeah, that's so really cool. So based on those experience and those skills that we build up during 4 years, we and like a lot of students end up in so many good place after they graduate. For example, like so many students come to graduate school like Harvard, Princeton, or Stanford, and many other students like end up with really cool companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook. PwCs is those companies. They are like really hard to get into, and we are like Minerva. We based in San Francisco, so it's like Silicon Valley. So it's also the chance for you guys who interested in technology and using technology to solve the problem and the work problem. It's always the good chance for you guys to access to those companies and have a chance to apply and be the one of like Googler or like Microsofter, and you can be part of the what the world change. So yeah, it's a really cool at Minerva, and I hope you guys will have apply to the school. So next we will move to the financial aid and about the admission at Minerva.
All right, so this is the last part of today's sections, and you guys feel free to stay around if you guys want to have more questions and just chatting with us. But this is the part that I think is very important, and I'm sure that you guys were curious about it too. So how can we get into Minerva and what does a financial aid look like? It's very important, especially for Southeast Asian students like us who are always seeking for financial aid opportunity. So in terms of admissions, we offer a merit-based admission. Now, what that means is that you will be getting accepted entirely based on you and your accomplishments, not anything else. So we don't even ask for SAT scores. We don't ask for standardized tests. The reason is because we know that there are students out there who are qualified, who are talented, but who cannot even afford to pay $200 to take an SAT test. Not to mention if they're students who taking multiple times of the test, or prepping for it aggressively in different English center. We don't need those. We don't need the opportunity to be limited because of regardless of your background, especially if in the pandemic. That is correct. So that is why we say no to quotas, we say no to enrollment caps, and we say no to test, standardized test. Your GPA is still required, by the way. So how we do it is that we have a separate admission process system. All of this will happen on our website, minerva.kgi.edu. This will include of 3 parts of admissions. The first part is really just a basic application form. You fill in things like your names, your family, your address, your GPA. The second part is a series of challenges. This is a series that will evaluate how you think, how you solve the problems, and also how do you use English, because English is critical in academics experience at Minerva. So we are looking at challenges like creative challenges or logic test, math test, interview online, etc. So that is why this is a very important part, just for us to really see who you are as a person, and also how do you think. The third part, yes, we do require English proficiency. I'll talk about that a little bit afterwards. The third part is for you to write about your past accomplishments and academic performance. Now, this is kind of like a resume accomplishment part, but for Minerva, it's so much more important that you can explain why that accomplishment is important and impactful for you. Now, what that means is that we don't need just like a title of anything. We want you to explain what is the impact that it has on you and on your community. So this is the 3 parts applications that we have on our Minerva website. Next slide, please. We have an admission calendar, of course, and this is, so usually we have 3 routes. We have early admissions, regular decisions, and regular decision 2, that all of this can be reviewed on our website. So feel free to just jump on our website to see all of this admission calendar. In terms of financial aid, next slide, please. In terms of financial aid, I would like to say that for Minerva, it's very important that we provide you enough financial aid so you can go to Minerva. Now, what that means is that this is a need-based financial aid system. You guys will fill in a financial profile to Minerva, submitted through CSS profile. This is the only system in your applications that require you to pay a $25 fee, because it is not controlled by Minerva, unfortunately. We're also re-innovating to have our separate system in terms of financial aid. But the point is that Minerva will try to cover the financial aid package. So how much that you guys are paying for the institution, for how much that your family can cover, Minerva will try our best to offer you a package that covers the rest. Now, all 3 of us are on financial aid system at Minerva, and we must say that it's definitely one of the greatest place for us to get such huge scholarships and huge financial aid, so we can go to Minerva and definitely living our dream of studying around the world. Next slide, please. I don't know if this one has, there you go. Now, this is all of our Minerva facts that we're very, very proud of. 100% of our students are coming from merit-based admissions, meaning that it's based entirely on you. not on heavily edited essays coming from any Catholic centers, not because you and your family can buy our school a library so we can give you a spot on our program. None of those happens at Minerva. It's 100% based on you and based on your accomplishments. And the second thing that I would like you guys to know is that about 81% of our students are on financial aid. This is a number that you cannot find anywhere in any school around the world. That is how much we are committed to provide financial aid to students. We want to make sure that anyone who get accepted to Minerva have the chance to go to Minerva. Also, one more quick thing before you go, if you have to go. Also, usually for other schools, if they have two similar profile comparing you and another applicant with a similar grades and similar extracurricular activity, they usually gonna choose the students who can afford and pay more tuition to the school because it's more beneficial for the school. Now, we don't do that at Minerva. You will be accepted before the financial aid department will see your financial aid applications. So financial aid is given separately from the decisions of accepting you or not. So that is why we can accept students regardless of their background, regardless of their financial situations, regardless of your race or your sex or wherever that you're coming around from the world. We have students who coming from Kosovo, where other countries in the world doesn't even recognize it as a country, an independent country to start with in terms of visa. So yeah, so that is why for us, this is such a great opportunity. It's literally our dream school. It's such a great opportunity because not only that we're buying into the Minerva missions, but we also believe that this is such a great opportunities that everyone deserve to go to Minerva, can go to Minerva. So yeah, this is, sorry I ran out 3 minutes, but this is all that we have to talk about Minerva at this for this formal presentations. If you guys want to contact me, those you have my email right now on the board, and also a QR code so you can see everything relating to Minerva online. We have prepared a special drive folder for you. But also, you know, if you just ever want to chat, like if you want to talk about what would be your ideal education looks like, what would be, you know, how should you choose colleges, what would be a great fit, how should you even think about financial aids in general? I'm sure Camp Philippines and also us are more than happy to open up and talk to you guys about it. Super supportive, but we just want to be here because we're Southeast Asian, you know, like we're together in this. We want to support each other because we want to get more of those opportunities back to Southeast Asians like us. So yeah, if there's anything that I know that you guys now have the chance to jump out and jump to another room. So if you do want to stay around and, you know, just chatting with us and listen more about anything Minerva related, then we're here for it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Chung, Mai, and Duck. I think now would be a really great time to actually take a picture. So actually, I'll just stop the recording so we can facilitate that.